In architectural language, entourage refers to the additional elements included in a scene to give context, scale, and a sense of realism to the design. These elements are not part of the actual building or main structure being modeled, but are used to enhance the visual representation. They include people, vehicles, vegetation, and other objects and props. Entourage are the assets in Enscape. Enscape assets play a vital role in enhancing the spatial experience of a space and trigger contextual storytelling. These assets show how a design interacts with its surroundings and how people might use the space. The intent behind adding entourage assets is not to overpower your design. Rather, understand scale, proportion, and impact. In this video, we're going to be learning how to make your visuals impactful.
The Enscape asset library contains around 5,000 render-ready assets. Over 1,000 of these are just people assets. The library is divided into categories and tags. Categories are broader divisions. Here we have accessories, animals, construction, furniture, hospital props, lighting, people, sport props, street props, vegetation, and vehicles. You might notice that some categories are very specific, like hospital or sports. The reason is simply the demand for these categories by the users. I recently got to know that Enscape has an in-house 3D scanner. We can request 3D assets and they can produce them on popular demand. I even found some real people scans in the asset library. It's totally nuts. I love it. Let's talk about tags now. Tags are like subcategories. So if I am in the people category, I can filter it further with tags like adults, male, female, walking, sitting, and so on. If it is the vegetation category, it will have tags like autumn, winter, trees, bushes, flowers, etc. This helps you find relevant assets quite easily. Another way to find relevant assets is to simply use the search bar and type in the keywords. There are two tags that I feel are quite special and we need a separate mention for them. The first one is the tag adjustable. This was a relatively new tag, but now almost 1/3 of the library is now tagged with adjustable. Adjustable assets are assets that can be adjusted. There are two types of adjustments. Let's first click on the adjustable tag. Now these are all adjustable assets. The first type is assets that have variants. You can distinguish this by the variant number on the corner of each asset thumbnail. Assets with variants have multiple variants for the same asset. For example, this nurse here has a trolley, in another variant a bed, and in the last one she is there by herself. Or this chair has a variant with cushion and without cushion. You get the idea. The second type is a bit more custom. You will see this round icon on it. This means that we have the possibility to change the material appearance of this asset. However, the rule is to have the asset placed before you can make that change. So if I select an already placed asset that has this icon, means I can select it and click on it in the sidebar. Now I can either edit the color of the surfaces, and if provided with textures, I can also choose between various texture options. This helps match the desired assets with the interior or exterior environment. You might find many adjustable assets that have both types, variants, and material options. So keep a lookout for them. It's a really nice feature. Try it. Simplified assets have been part of Enscape for as long as I can remember. These are assets without any materials or other details. They represent simplified geometrical forms for different asset categories. I love these assets because they are very useful when I am making maquettes or creating conceptual drawings out of my model. I can emphasize my design more by putting simplified assets all around my model instead of having detailed entourage. Imagine my complete site is using these whitewashed simplified assets, and the only detailed or slightly detailed geometry is my design. That's how I normally use it. Just for your info, we also have a favorites list here. Just click this heart on the assets you like. They will be added to your favorites list, so you don't have to find them again and again. Cool stuff, right? Let's meet up in the next part of this lesson to learn how to actually place assets inside your projects. Assets can be placed using one of the two different methods: single placement and multi-placement. Let's start with the most basic, which is the single placement. This is already chosen by default when you open the asset library. This simply means that you can choose and place individual assets one by one. The process is quite simple. Once you have found your desired asset from the library, simply click to choose it, and then click place it on the surface where you want it. Simple as that. The only thing to keep in mind is that once you place an asset, you are in the placement mode. You can keep placing while you are in this mode. But to be able to come out of this mode, you will have to either apply or discard the changes you made. That is, finalize placement or remove the assets you placed. For this, you can click Apply Changes here at the bottom. Once you click Apply, you will be able to see rendered details for the asset instead of a low poly view. This is also a good reminder for you to know if you have applied the changes. If the assets show as whitewash poly models, means you still have to apply the changes. Now, while you are in the placement mode, you can also edit your assets. If I click on any of these standard edit tools on the left, I can select any asset that I was currently placing, or I had placed before, and edit the position, rotation, and the scale. The second option to place assets is the multi-placement button. This can do wonders. It's very simple and useful. For example, I need to add lots of people walking around the streets, and I can't place them individually. I can simply add them to the multi-placement list and place all of them multiple times in one go. Here's how we can do it. Click on the multi-placement button. Choose the assets you want to scatter. Then define an area. This area can either be a box, a circle, or it can be a complete surface. That's right, you can pick complete surfaces with this bucket pick tool. Isn't this some more next level from Enscape? It's full of surprises. So once you define the area, it scatters those assets multiple times on it, and you have more controls to define how uniform or random this placement should be. I can control the density, the distribution, which can be quite uniform as well, or jitter, which is somewhere between uniform and random. I always set it on complete random to give it a natural look, together with this random rotation checkbox, so all assets are not looking in the same direction, basically making it as random a scatter as it could be. It has to look natural, right? And then I could regenerate and add or remove stuff from the list. Or simply confirm the placement. Once I confirm placement, I am still in placement mode, but it's like I have confirmed the first set of placement and I can add more before I actually apply changes. So let's add some vegetation. I am going to clear all this list and add new stuff to it. I will add trees. So now when I have multi-place stuff in different parts of my site, I can simply apply the changes to save the placement. And there we go! This kind of placement will give you a fair idea how fast Enscape is. It takes seconds to scatter these assets and it's so freaking easy. Try it on your next project. You will love it as well. You might be thinking, okay, I have added a lot of individual assets or scattered hundreds of assets through multi-placement. How the hell would I select specific assets in case I want to remove or edit them? Go to the asset library in the Enscape viewport. Press the left mouse click in combo with the Shift key and drag to select assets in your view. All selected assets will display on the left side panel, and each asset will display the count that asset is used. If you have used an asset 10 times, it will show that number. When you hover over an asset on the side panel, you will see those magical 3 dots. You can either deselect the asset or delete it. The third option is Reset to Default. This will be visible if you have adjusted an adjustable asset with materials or colors. You can reset it to its original state. If you want to adjust an asset just like you adjust them individually, you can adjust them here as well by clicking on an asset and changing the material or color. Only adjustable assets can be clicked in this case. However, keep in mind the complete count selected for that asset will have the change applied. If an asset has variants, you can replace the current variant of that asset with a different variant. This can be really useful if you have large amounts of assets placed in the project. Make sure you apply the changes once you are done selecting and editing the assets.